going to get started on making the Seraphim overdress. I am using a video from YouTuber With My Hands Dream. She's a Finnish YouTuber. I've been using her video as inspiration for this whole project. And so far, I got the underdress finished, minus the hem. And then off camera, I made the little cap that goes over. I started with use the kind of pilgrim cap from this old McCall's costume as kind of the starting point, and then I modified it. And I still need to get a ribbon or make a cord instead of using a shoelace. But it works for now. For the dress, I have this dark purple, kind of, or burgundy, kind of wine colored cotton. It's got this really lovely pattern on it. I got it from my mom, so I'm trying to make this as low cost as possible. I was really hoping for that my mom would have some red cotton in her stash that would work. And she did. She had a couple of lovely pieces that I was really tempted to use, but they're only about 2 yards long. Not going to be long enough to get like an ankle length dress. Whereas this, she had like 5 yards of this, so that's more than enough. So now I'm going to go about trying to figure out how to make this because I don't have an actual pattern or an actual like step-by-step tutorial. I'm just kind of basing this off of the With My Hands Dream video where she shows her process, but it's not a tutorial, so it's not step-by-step. So we're gonna see how this turns out. It's a fairly simple shape, so I think it'll be fine. So here is my attempt at making a line drawing of what the dress is supposed to be. I kind of based it off of the video, plus looking through some like photos and some other drawings of similar dresses. The dotted line that goes down the center of the front and the back are the two seams where I sewed the two pieces together. And I tried to show on the front the little gap and the buttons that are at the top of the bodice. And the little curly stuff is like trim to add there. And I tried to add in pleats, but I have no idea how you actually draw those. But I guess the biggest thing I was trying to show, that's probably terrible. But so the front of the dress is kind of flat along the top, and then the back kind of scoops down where I cut out the straps and leaving that little kind of, what is it, like a trapezoid? What is the name of that shape? Not a triangle, but anyway, so it's like the chunk in the middle, and then they cut the straps out and kind of down scooping toward like the arms. I don't know. That's a terrible explanation. But anyways, this is what we're trying to achieve. No idea if that makes sense or not, but there it is. So the first thing I need to do is to cut this. And I'm going to go about 50 inches. That's a little bit longer than what's going to need to be, but that way I have plenty for hems. And I'd rather trim off a little extra fabric than end up it being like an inch or two short. I'm going to cut 2 panels from this that are 50 inches long. So I'm going to use the width this way, and then we'll pleat. I'm going to try pleating. I could also gather, but I do love a pleat. Okay, so there's 50 inches, and I'm just gonna snip this and then tear it across because it's a nice sturdy cotton, and that's the easiest way to... Oh goodness, nope, it's not tearing the right way. Disaster! Good thing I had extra. Oh goodness. Well, that's never happened to me before. Where it's tearing straight across until we got halfway through, and then it... Okay, maybe I'm not going to do that. Maybe I'll lay it down and cut. Should I live dangerously and try again from the other end for the second panel? Okay, so far so good. Okay, well, that size ripped just fine. Okay, so I'm using this as a lining at the top of my sarafan, and I'm going to sew one side seam, and then I will sew the side seams on the sarafan. You may be wondering why I'm using white thread on dark fabric. I didn't get any extra bobbins from my sister, so I only have one bobbin, and it's almost to the end, but I hate to just waste the thread by pulling it off, so this is just going to be on the inside. It's fine. Okay, so I'm going to sew up one side seam first. My poor fabric. I ironed it all nice and neat this morning, and then I was just sitting on it, so now it's all wrinkly again. Now we're going to do the other side seam. Well, the other seam. I'm actually going to use this as a center front seam, and it feels a little strange to put seams, a center front and a center back, and no side seams, but the sarafans have an opening, a slit opening, basically the length of the bodice. And I did think about, making a slit in the middle. Then I'd have to, I don't know, make a placket, or I don't know if that's the right word, but lining so that it wouldn't fray. And that seemed a lot more work than just only sewing up the seam for so long. And that's what my inspiration video that I'm following, she also, as far as I could tell from the video, it looks like she put a center front seam and just used that as a way of making the front opening. So I'm going to do that because it's going to be easier. I'm wanting this project to be easy and fun. And also I need to get this project done because the Antique Spinning Wheel Showcase is just about a month from now. But I also have a costume I need to make for my daughter for a school play. So I want to get this done and out of the way so that I don't have to stress about having time to finish this and get the other things done. Okay, so I'm going to have that as the top. And let's see, I'm going to leave that open to just about there. And hopefully that'll be about the right amount. Okay, so I'm going to start sewing where I put that pin and make sure I remember to backstitch so it doesn't come all undone. And that is the end of the white thread, so I will change the bottom. I will change the bobbin to a darker color now. I forgot that I had moved one of my pin containers into this drawer, and this pin container just dumped all over inside my extra thread drawer. That's gonna be fun to take care of. Okay, I'm gonna take out the other pin containers out of there so that they don't dump all over. Okay, well that's enough rummaging in there. So there's not much left on these, but I guess we'll go ahead and maybe use those up. I feel like I'm slowly feeling less awkward threading and using this machine. Although I feel like I'm getting old, I remember as a kid that my mom, she would have been in her 40s at the time, always had to take her glasses off to see small things, and over the last year or so, I've noticed, oh, I have to do that too. I figured out why I was having problems with the thread tension, and it was because there was a little tensioner place in the bobbin case that I was forgetting to hook the thread through, because my brother machine, it's a little bit different from my brother machine, so I was forgetting to put the bottom thread through there. So now it seems to be a much happier sewing machine. So I'm going to redo hemming the piece of the lining because it was super duper wonky with all kinds of thread bunched up. Oh yeah, look at that. Ooh, very nice tension from the bottom side, from the bobbin side. Ooh. All right, so I just cut the back piece to make the back straps, and I thought I had recorded it so I could show you all how I did it. I don't know, I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but this is just what came to mind from the descriptions I read. Maybe I'll have to lay it down and see if I can explain what I did. All right, so first I marked my side. So that's my side, and I decided that in the middle of the back, center back, I wanted to leave a 3-inch wide tab so that the shoulders would stay attached, so that the straps would stay attached. And I decided I would cut the strip 3 inches wide so that when I folded them over, I'd have 1.5-inch straps. So then I measured from the tab 15 inches because from just a rough measurement on myself, I figured that 15-inch straps would be the longest I would need. So I measured from here, from the center back tab to 15 inches, and I put a mark, and then I used my French curve to curve this from the side to that 15 inches so that I would have more of a slope to transition from the front to the back that's lower, kind of like an armhole. Yeah. So I did that on both sides, and I have my straps that I will fold down. I'm fold them over, and then I'll angle them up so that the straps will come over from the middle of the back toward the shoulder. So it'll be kind of like almost like a racer back. And then when I'm done, and once I've gathered the front and back, I'm going to bind it all with bias tape. Okay, so now I'm just folding the straps so that they'll sit at an angle. That way they'll just be more comfortable and sit flat. And then I am putting the lining over them to hold them in place, and we're going to sew it down. Now I'm adding an embroidered chain stitch about halfway down through the middle of the bodice. I am using some 10-2 pearl cotton that I have for weaving. You could also use embroidery thread or whatever, but I just have a bigger supply of weaving yarn than I have of embroidery thread. So now I'm adding the bias binding to the top edge of the bodice. I'm machine stitching it down on one side, and then I'm going to iron it over and hand stitch it down so that the stitching won't show. I have finished the chain stitch to hold the pleats. I sewed on 2 buttons and I made thread button loops out of the same pearl cotton there, and I sewed on some trim. So now I need to hem this because it's currently dragging on the floor. Let's figure out how many inches I need to bring it up. I want it probably about ankle length so that it won't be in the way while I'm walking around and spinning. Now the question is, where is my measuring tape? Measuring tape. Where are you, measuring tape? Oh, here we go. All right, I found my measuring tape, and of course, this is really difficult to try and measure on myself. It'd be really awesome to have one of those nifty hem height chalk line things that I've seen. Can't read you, measuring tape. Okay, there. I think somewhere about 45 or 46 inches long is going to be about the right length from the top. I'm going to go over to my ironing board and iron it at that length, and then I'll iron and pin it and see if that works or not. I ironed the hem up 3 inches, and that seems to be a pretty good length. It hits right about the bottom of my ankle. So I am going to go ahead and sew that up. Alrighty, we finished the hem. Look, hem. So now we have our underdress finished, and we've got our little cap and the belt that will go something like this. So then now we need to make an apron, and I'm going to make a little tie-on pocket that'll tie on with the belt. I'm going to do like some embroidery and stuff, so that's going to be fun. And the only thing, I wish I would have time to like make a little shawl or something, but I don't think that's going to happen. Don't think there's enough time for that, but it's coming along. It's coming along nicely, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get it all done in time for the showcase, which is exciting. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to make sure you get notified when I finally get around to editing the other 2 pieces of this project, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like, comment, tell me what you think, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!